1. Introduction. RAWSEP View. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building. For just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable. Wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove, and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP View. Purple air. PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.
Hi, my name is Lily. Andrew gave you the intro to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates and their concern for air pollution from indoor residential wood burning. Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, or RAWSEP, would like every near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner whose wood smoke enters their yards and sickens the near neighbors to have a purple air PM 2.5 monitor hanging from the eaves of their home to measure the level of PM 2.5 entering their yards. That measurement of air pollution should be used as evidence of unnecessary air pollution, and each indoor residential wood burner should be shut down based on that evidence, one indoor residential wood burner at a time if necessary. The presentation by Andrew ended at 2 minutes 5 seconds. The same presentation by Emma starts at 2 minutes 3 seconds before the end of this podcast. So I am Lily, your timekeeper, and you can start the next podcast at 2 minutes 5 seconds in if you would not like to see the presentation by Andrew a second time. This presentation by me, Lily, ends at 5 minutes in. What you will see in the main content of this RAWSEP podcast will be news about air pollution from indoor residential wood burning and how that air pollution is being combated by ordinary people just like you who are unfortunately near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners at this time. There will also be news about unnecessary and highly polluting use of wood as fuel in industrial wood burners and preventable air pollution from wood burning wildfires. There will also be news about air pollution from PM 2.5 from gas-powered cars. There will also be news about airborne diseases which are also preventable with vaccines such as COVID-19 and measles and whooping cough, to name just a few. In 2025, Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates is also concerned with combating the Trump destruction of government funding for programs which protect human health through the Department of Health and Human Services, and Trump destruction of programs which fund the science and medical research plan to protect human health from preventable illnesses. Protecting human health is a patriotic act, and our defense against enemies is weakened if we are not as healthy as we can be. Heat pump rebates are now offered by the federal government, distributed through the eligible United States, are available in 2025, and are the best, cleanest, and now cheapest alternative to indoor residential wood burning if that burning is actually done to purportedly save money. Wind and solar as sources of the electricity that powers heat pumps and electric cars is also cheaper than burning wood. The adverse health effects that are caused by indoor residential wood burning also come at a cost to near neighbors, both in shortening and ending their lives, and in actual hospital, clinic, and funeral costs. Instead of being compensated monetarily, near neighbors should instead be able to achieve immediate relief by stopping indoor residential wood burning in their hyper-localized neighborhoods, which relief readings from purple air PM 2.5 monitors used as evidence of air pollution will help them achieve. Welcome to news about hopeful scientific and medical achievements that will also help us achieve the goal of clean air to breathe.
Episode 57 DHWX, June 26, 2025, if Democrats nationwide applied Mamdani policies on clean energy. In episode 57 DHWX, 1 RAWSEP View of Democrats applying Mamdani policies nationwide, 2 Mamdani policies in brief, and applying them nationwide to potential Democratic initiatives on clean energy, such as heat pumps and heat pump rebates for homes and schools, and Social Security reform. That Social Security reform would be to 2K tax the rich to distribute funds for safety net programs. For the poor and middle-income residents of the United States, RAWSEP View, this should include a Social Security tax on the rich on all their income, even income above $168,600. This fair tax revenue benefiting Social Security will ensure the Social Security system does not go bankrupt. Excerpt from Social Security policy. The Social Security tax limit for 2024 is $168,600. 3 Excerpt from article about Mamdani. 4 headlines. Main content. 1 RAWSEP View 1a. In the famous quote attributed to Samuel Johnson, when a man knows he is to be hanged within 2 weeks, it concentrates his mind wonderfully, we find a stark and sobering observation about the power of impending death to focus the thoughts of one person. The quote captures the idea that when faced with an imminent and irrevocable end, individuals are compelled to confront their mortality, reassess their priorities, and gain clarity about what truly matters in life. This quote has often been used to emphasize the transformative effect of impending doom, pushing individuals to confront their deepest fears and confront their own existence in a profound manner. By examining this quote, we see that thinking of our own mortality regardless of imminent danger, this allows us to lead more purposeful lives regardless of the time on earth we have left. If we are in imminent danger, this concentrated thinking free of distractions might also allow us to survive instead of die. 1b. In the famous quote attributed to Samuel Johnson, when a man is tired of London, he is tired of life, we find a light-hearted observation about the power of London distractions to sap the focus of thoughts of one person. It means that London offers such a vast array of experiences and opportunities that anyone who grows bored with the city must also be bored with life itself. The quote suggests that London has something to offer everyone regardless of their interests. By examining this quote, we see that thinking of the happy distractions of London allows us to lead happier lives regardless of the time we have left. If we are in imminent danger in America, for instance, after blocking out Trumpian dark distractions that we still find boring, this concentrated thinking might also allow us to survive instead of die. 1c. In New York City, Zoran Mamdani distilled for almost light-hearted aspirations for New Yorkers to contemplate when deciding to vote for Mamdani as New York City mayor. None of these aspirations is boring to a person of low or middle income. 1c. 1 The Mamdani biography is not one of a typical politician. 1c. The Mamdani stances on the issues are supportive of low and middle income New Yorkers at the expense of rich New Yorkers. Under Mamdani policies, taxes on the rich fund a safety net for the poor and the middle income New York City residents. What are the main Mamdani policies? 1c2. Rent is stabilized and made affordable. 1c2b. An Office of Deed Theft Prevention for Homeowners is established. 1c2c. Transportation includes free and faster buses. 1c2d. A Department of Community Safety with increased investment in crisis response is established. 1c2e. City-owned grocery stores that will pay no rent or property taxes, buy and sell at wholesale prices from centralized warehouses and partner with local vendors to keep prices down are established. 1c2f. Offer free child care for every New Yorker aged 6 weeks to 5 years. Implement the distribution of baby baskets to parents of newborns with diapers, baby wipes, nursing pads, postpartum pads, swaddles, books, and local resource guides. 1c2g. Raise the NYC minimum wage to $30 by 2031. C2h. Regulate DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats and other food delivery companies to strengthen licensure requirements and expand resources to assist app workers within New York City. 1c2i. Kindergarten through 12th grade education plans include ensuring equal distribution of money and resources to city schools, creating car-free school streets, expanding the Bronx Pilot Every Child and Family is Known program to address homelessness in the school system. And he also champions the Green Schools for a Healthier New York City initiative that seeks to renovate 500 public schools with renewable energy infrastructure and HVAC upgrades, make asphalt schoolyards into green spaces, and build hubs in 50 schools for community emergency situations. 1c2j. On a collegiate level, Mamdani intends to invest in the City College of New York CUNY system. 1c2k. Taxation bills and fees running on a platform of pushing back against the proverbial big guys. Mamdani has proposed a 2% tax on residents earning above $1 million annually and raising the corporate tax rate to 11.5%. Mamdani has also promised to fight corporate exploration by banning hidden fees and non-compete clauses, fighting misleading advertising and predatory contracts, limiting tax dollars given to companies under non-disclosure agreements, NDA agreements, and funding challenges to price increases from the utility company Cone. He plans to do so via enforcement of consumer protection laws, pushing legislation in Albany, and working with the New York City Council. 1c2l. Responding to Trump, laying out plans to resist or respond to Trump policies. Among the Mamdani plans to resist Trump, which would include protecting abortion rights and increasing the budgets of the NYC Department of Consumer and Worker Protection and the NYC Commission on Human Rights. 2. How could other American communities and the Democratic Party as a whole mirror these Mamdani policies in order to appeal to low and middle income voters in other municipalities or across the nation? Offer policies that deal with 2a. Rent stabilization. 2b. Protections for homeowners. RAWSEP View also provide clean energy home heating and home water heating solutions such as heat pumps and heat pump rebates. 2c. Free or low-cost public transport and faster and more efficient public transport. RAWSEP View also provide clean energy public transport such as electric vehicles. 2d. Departments of Community Safety. 2e. Lowered grocery prices. 2f. Free childcare. 2g. Raise the minimum wage. 2h. Regulate food delivery companies and improve working conditions of food delivery workers. 2i. Support public schools. RAWSEP View also provide clean energy school heating and clean energy school water heating, which would include heat pumps and heat pump rebates. 2j. Support college and university education. 2k. Tax the rich to distribute funds for safety net programs for the poor and middle income residents of the United States. RAWSEP View. This should include a social security tax on the rich on all their income, even income above $168,600. This fair tax revenue benefiting Social Security will ensure the Social Security system does not go bankrupt. Excerpt from Social Security policy. The Social Security tax limit for 2024 is $168,600. 2L. Stand up to Trump by protecting consumers and workers and the human rights of everyone in the United States. 3. What are the Zoran Mamdani policies? Where he stands on rent. City-owned stores. More excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. USA Today, June 25, 2025. Zoran Mamdani, a 33-year-old assemblyman and Democratic socialist, defied expectations when he pulled well ahead to presumed victory over former Governor Andrew Cuomo in New York City in the June 24 Democratic mayoral primary. Mamdani led Cuomo 44% to 36% among first-place votes with 96% of ballots counted as of around 1 p.m. on Wednesday, June 25. The Democratic nominee will begin the general election as the favorite in the overwhelmingly Democratic city. The Mamdani platform has included stances on rent and housing, cost of living, safety, infrastructure, and relations between the city and President Donald Trump. Here is a brief look at the Mamdani stance on major New York City issues. Who is Zoran Mamdani, presumptive winner of the Democratic mayoral primary in NYC? Mamdani is a 33-year-old politician and member of the Democratic Socialists of America Party. He was born in Kampala, Uganda, but moved to New York City with his family when he was 7 years old, where he attended the Bronx High School of Science. Mamdani is currently the 3-term representative for Assembly District 36 located in Queens in the New York State Assembly. He is the first South Asian man and Ugandan to serve in the Assembly and the third Muslim person to do so. He worked as a foreclosure prevention housing counselor prior to serving in the Assembly. Interestingly, he also worked a stint in film writing, and as a rap music producer, he is the son of Mahmood Mamdani, a professor at Columbia University, and Mira Nair, an Indian filmmaker. If elected, he would become the first Muslim mayor in New York City, as well as the first Asian and millennial mayor. Where does Zoran Mamdani stand on issues? Rent and housing. In a city with sky-high rent prices, cost of housing was a major tentpole in all campaigns of mayoral candidates. For A headlines, The New York Times, June 25, 2025. Canada climate change. Toronto sees record temperatures as extreme heat settles over Canada. The New York Times. Clean energy. House and city is powered by the sun. The New York Times. Clean energy inside a last-ditch battle to save or kill. Clean energy tax credits. The New York Times. Kenya economics. Kenyans return to the streets a year after deadly tax protests. The New York Times. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. promise of victory over HIV fades as U.S. withdraws support. The New York Times. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. RFK Jr. accuses Gavi Global Vaccine Agency of ignoring science. The New York Times. Trump. Iran strikes online and IRL. Trump offers a window into his psyche. The New York Times. Trump. Iran strikes. The bombing of Iran may teach an unwelcome lesson on nuclear weapons. The New York Times. Trump. Iran strikes. The evolution of the Trump views on foreign aid. The New York Times. Trump. Iran strikes. Trump pushes allies on military spending at NATO summit. Live updates. The New York Times. Trump tariffs. U.S. textile makers feeling forgotten by Trump. Hope boom days are ahead. The New York Times. Ukraine, the weapon that terrorizes Ukrainians by night. The New York Times. 4B headlines. The New York Times, June 24, 2025. Clean energy. Trump administration to end protections for 58 million acres of national forest. The New York Times. Clean energy. LA homeowners face toxic hazards after wildfires. The New York Times. Clean energy at the biggest Amazon data center. Everything is supersized for artificial intelligence. AI. The New York Times. Climate change opinion. It is time to name heat waves like hurricanes. The New York Times. Democrats. Pritzker out of running for president in 2028. J.B. Pritzker to seek third term as Illinois governor. The New York Times. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. letter urges HHS to convene meeting of advisory group on antimicrobial resistance. CIDRAP. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. The FDA acting CDR heads for the exit report. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. Real doctors of New York spill their guts. The New York Times. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. Cassidy and break with RFK Jr. calls for vaccine meeting delay. The New York Times. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. People with severe diabetes are cured in small trial of new drug. The New York Times. Michigan church shooting leaves at least one injured and gunman dead. Police say. The New York Times. Trump actions and civil suits continue. Man in January 6th riot ordered to pay $500,000 to family of officer who later killed himself. The New York Times. Trump budget cuts to fund tax breaks for the rich. House conservatives warn they cannot back Senate bill to enact the Trump agenda. The New York Times. Trump budget cuts to fund tax breaks for the rich. A running list of policies rejected from the Republican mega bill. The New York Times. Trump. Iran strikes opinion. The Trump-Iran diplomacy failed. I hope his airstrike succeeds. The New York Times. Trump-Iran strike set back the Iran nuclear program by only a few months. U.S. report says. The New York Times. Trump-Iran strikes. The Trump cuts could leave the U.S. exposed amid a heightened threat from Iran. The New York Times. Trump-Iran strikes. Intel report on Iran upends victory lap Trump was hoping for at NATO. The New York Times. Trump-Iran strikes opinion. The fears dominating the NATO summit. The New York Times. Trump-Iran strikes. White House postpones briefing Congress on Iran strikes. The New York Times. Trump-Iran strikes opinion. If this Mideast war is over, get ready for some interesting politics. The New York Times. Trump-Iran strikes opinion. Mission not accomplished. The New York Times. Trump tariffs. Why factories are having trouble filling nearly 400,000 open jobs. The New York Times. 4C headlines. The Guardian. June 25, 2025. Medicine and Science. Kennedy Jr. Millions of children at risk as global vaccine rates fall. Study finds vaccines and immunization. The Guardian. Trump-Iran strikes. Israel. Iran. Live News. Donald Trump likens U.S. strikes on Iran to atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Trump-Iran strikes. The Guardian view on the Trump vacillating approach to Iran. A ceasefire is welcome, but the danger is not over. Editorial. The Guardian. Trump-Iran strikes. Trump is angry with a world that will not give him easy deals. Raphael Baer. The Guardian. Trump-Iran strikes. Why dreams of regime change in Iran will end in a rude awakening. Rajan Menon. The Guardian. 4D headlines. The Guardian. June 24th. 2025 Trump family actions sold to the Trump family, one of the last undeveloped islands in the Mediterranean. Albania. The Guardian. Trump Iran strikes, another big success. NATO leader flatters Trump before the Hague summit. NATO. The Guardian. Trump Iran strikes, dear heads of state, Donald Trump will not love you back. He may be the worst boyfriend the world has ever seen. Marina hide. The Guardian. Trump Iran strikes, NATO members willingly increasing defense spending amid rising threat from Russia, says Ruta. NATO. The Guardian. 4E headlines. Other media. June 25, 2025. Medicine and science. The Kennedy Jr. RFK Jr. overhauled vaccine panel hit with humiliating early exit. 4F headlines. Other media. June 24, 2025. Medicine and science. Kennedy Jr. Cassidy calls for postponing the RFK Jr. vaccine advisory panel meeting. Trump Iran strikes. A majority of Americans disapproves of the Trump Iran airstrikes. CNN poll finds. CNN politics. Trump Iran strikes, ceasefire in place, but Iran nuclear program may have survived. Live updates. Trump Iran strikes, exclusive early U.S. intel assessment suggests strikes on Iran did not destroy nuclear site. Sources say. CNN politics. Trump Iran strikes. Trump heads to NATO, minimizes time as he shrugs off global meetings. Cat's corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. Saying the quiet part out loud. Roar. Hi, I am Tiger. Our human asked us to get up from our naps and start Cat's corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. She gave us a list of internet allies, which we will post for her here.
Hi, I am Leone. It is better for your mental fitness to go to these websites than to go to bro sites for advice. Substack letters from an American. Heather Cox Richardson. Substack your local epidemiologist. The Midas Touch. The Guardian. The New York Times.
One introduction. RAWSEP View. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only for home building and furniture building. For just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen, and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove. International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP View. Purple air. PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.